I'm going to plant it into an oasis cube and wait for it to happen. But what they fail to realize is that there may be a nub with a root inside of that oasis cube, but it's not stimulated into showing itself to you. So when you soak your cubes with a stimulant, when the root decides to take and the plant actually becomes a plant, then it actually creates that stimulation, so it actually shows itself to you a lot quicker, which is important. You want to see roots faster when you're taking cuttings, and that's the way to do it. We have a granular mycorrhizal and beneficial bacterial product called Mycomaximum. Mycomaximum consists of 10 mycorrhizal species, 19 bacterial species, 2 trichoderma, 11 time-release carbohydrates, and 20 different amino acids. It's a granular, so it's not a soluble. We have the soluble mycorrhizal product we have is called Mycomadness. This is called Mycomaximum. Similar product in that it is a mycorrhizal and bacterial blend, but what separates the two is obviously one's soluble and one's a granular. So you'd use the granular while you're transplanting. The goal of mycorrhizals is to create physical contact with the root and the spore. So you could sprinkle some right in the hole that you're going to transplant and put your transplant right on top of it. And it creates physical contact with that root, and it creates less of transplant shock, more root development, initial root development. So a granular mycorrhizal, Mycomaximum, is a great product for that. And it has 11 time-release carbohydrates, different time-release carbohydrates. So they slowly release themselves. The carbohydrates slowly release and feed the bacteria and mycorrhizals over time. Just another addition to a carbohydrate supplement. The Mayan microzyme is this product here. The Mayan microzyme for the past 10 years has been used to remediate salty soils in conventional farms. When a farmer wants to become an organic farmer, he can't just say one year, I'm an organic farmer, I'm going to sell my produce for what organic produce sells for. It doesn't work that way. The organic farmer has to condition his soil and reintroduce what made his soil in the first place. After years of pumping chemical fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides into his soil, he's basically locked out and choked out all the biological life in his soil and has created salt deposits that actually choke the beneficial life out of the soil. So what Mayan microzyme has helped to do in bigger ag for the past 10 years is help remediate those salty soils. There's nitrogen-fixing cells from alder tree, soybean, peanut, clover, and alfalfa. There's 3 different species of blue-green algae. And these are all things that farmers will grow just to cover and till under for the nitrogen source that they create. But there's actually cells that are in the product itself on top of the bacteria and the enzymes that are in the Mayan microzyme. So the Mayan microzyme is better brewed as a product. If you give it a 2 to 3 day brew period, it activates and actually creates more propagules and more CFUs, which propagules obviously are, well, I'm not sure if, do any of you guys know that? A propagule is a spore. That's how you can determine any given concentration of a mycorrhizal spore or any trichoderma spore. CFU is a colony forming unit. That's what CFU stands for. And CFUs are how you can judge a concentration of a bacterial product, colony forming units. So those plate counts increase as you brew this product. So if you can allow the Mayan microzyme to brew for a 2 or 3 day period, you're going to get better results out of this product. Okay, so our 2-part program consists of the Master A and B, which our Master A and B are the base nutrients. It's a 2-part base nutrient. We've got 2 programs for them. One is for drain to waste, and one is for recirculating systems. So there's certain elements in a drain to waste situation that you wouldn't want to use in a recirculating system or aeroponics. When we say recirculating system, we always we keep in mind aeroponics, deep water culture, any kind of systems like that where you have thin emitters or lines that you're trying to go through. So there's a lot of things you wouldn't want to use in a drain to waste setting that you would use in a recirculating, vice versa. So the Master A and B is 100% amino chelated. the chelate, which I touched up on a little bit earlier, a chelate makes all the other elements. It's an element that makes all the elements, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, calcium, all the elements necessary for plant growth. A chelate makes those soluble and available instantaneously to the plant. So in nature, of course, those are the biologicals. In this case, it's an amino acid, plant-based amino acids, citric acids, and fulvic acids, just to name a few of the chelates that are used in the Master A and B. So we actually have made this product 100% biodegradable, which means traditionally what chemists have used is called an EDTA, or a synthetic chelate. That's been the most traditional and most used chelate in fertilizer manufacturing. And what we've done is we're trying to stray away as much as we can from salty chelates like synthetic chelates, EDTAs, and those EDDHAs. We're trying to stray away as much as we can from those so our biologicals don't get choked out in higher parts per million. And that's what occurs when you have those synthetic chelates. It's the same thing that's happened in bigger ag. We've had E. coli breakouts, we've had salmonella breakouts. The reason why we have E. coli breakouts in spinach and bigger ag is because conventional farmers have for years and years and years pumped these chemical synthetic chelates into their farms, and they've choked the biological life out of their farms. So when a pathogen is introduced, you don't have the beneficials to fight them off. So the pathogens actually increase in numbers so rapidly that it gets uptaken by the fruit, and we end up getting E. coli in spinach, salmonella in tomatoes. So without that beneficial bacteria, we're basically introducing pathogens that will just wipe out crops. So by having a biodegradable chelate, which is really important when you're trying to sustain and be sustainable, by having that, you lower the salt index, and you not only feed your plant chelated fertilizer, but the chelate is also feeding the biologicals. And you're also feeding the biologicals chelated fertilizer as well, as if they were getting it from organic matter. They're getting it from the fertilizer as well, and you're not choking them out in the high parts per million. So Master A and B is a biodegradable, 100% biodegradable. It's a chelated fertilizer, so it would be used for hydroponics as well. So that's the base nutrient in this program. The Big Up powder is used the first week of flower and the 7th and the 8th week of flower, the last weeks and the first week. And the Big Up is a 03323. So it's monopotassium phosphate, amino acids, citric acids, and there's some B vitamins also in the Big Up powder. So the Big Up, the reason why we recommend the Big Up the first week of flower is indoors, you're transitioning from a 12-12 cycle, from an 18-6 cycle to a 12-12 cycle overnight. This is something in nature that occurs in a real slow pace. You have summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year, and then it starts to decrease over time. You have this decrease in time, and a plant knows and has more time to adapt to that. And indoors, we're doing that. We're hitting summer solstice, and then we're going to 12-12 right after that. So we really need to tell the plant what we want it to do, because we're not working with a lot of time here. We're working with 2 or 3 months. 2 months usually during the flower cycle. So what we want to do is flip the switch. We want to tell the plant it's time to flower. And the way you do that is to use a PK or some kind of bloom booster that has a large PK number in it. So you're telling the plant what time it is. And that normally is a really sluggish process in nature, from the summer solstice on down. So by using that the first week, you're telling